Welcome to the monthly board meeting of the Captiva Erosion Prevention District on this Monday, February 7th, 2022 at 1 p.m. This meeting will now come to order. Do you have any commissioners requesting to appear remotely? I don't think so because we're all here. Good. No discussion. We can move on. Excellent. Okay.
I just need to do the roll call real quick. Chairman Sylvia,
Here.
Vice Chairman LaBelle, Treasurer Pyle.
Here.
Everybody's.
We will now need an approval of the minutes for the January 10th, 2022 board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the January 10th, 2022 meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the January 10th, 2022 minutes.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Discussion? All right, Director, please call the roll.
Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman LaBelle, Treasurer Pyle.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously.
Can I ask
Oh,
a
yes.
question? Is it really necessary that we have to call a vote to approve the minutes when it just says passage unanimously? I mean, it's sort of. I mean, they don't, I mean, not for roll call for minutes. We have never for 25 years. We'd say, oh.
I'm having trouble hearing Renee. Is there a way to put a microphone closer to Renee?
Hey, Ralph, I was just trying to school the rest of the board that for 25 years, we never had to do the minutia of roll call for approving minutes when it's not, there's roll call, which is legally necessary. You don't have to roll call every little thing, and I thought I made it crystal clear.
It's most appropriate to vote on every motion. So if you make a motion, then you should take a vote.
Okay.
That
No,
makes
not
it
the
easier
roll-
for the
roll
minutes.
call. Ralph, the roll call. Did you hear me? I'm sorry.
He's saying.
I'm having trouble hearing you. That's why I interrupted. Is there a microphone that you could put next to you?
Here.
You're not sitting next to a microphone. I think the other two are sitting next to a microphone.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
That's a nice microphone.
Yeah. It's not gonna work. You're just gonna have to talk
No,
loud.
hey,
no, is that any better now?
That's okay, Renee.
hear me?
Okay.
Ralph, can you hear me?
Yes,
Earth to Ralph, come in, please.
I can hear you. You guys could carry on. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I can hear you
That's right.
now.
Ralph, can you hear us?
I can now. I could not before, but I can
Okay,
hear you
Ralph,
now.
did you hear my question is it necessary, since we've never done it for 20 years until recently, to do a roll call on every vote, such as approval of minutes?
The Florida statute sunshine law says you have to have a vote by commissioner for each one. Anytime, if you make a motion, you should do a vote, and doing a roll call is an efficient way of doing it.
But if we make the vote and the motion passes, I've watched Lee County and they don't do a roll call every vote. So what's different here? They just say, okay, motion passes unanimously.
If there's no, if
Motion
you're all,
passes 3-2, what?
if you're all like going to vote yes for a motion, the chairman could say, all those in favor, say aye, and then you could say aye, and then all those opposed, and if there's nothing, if no one votes no, then the chairman should say, motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
That's what I'm asking.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
what we do.
that's-
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like, yeah,
Okay, so
thank
now,
you. That's what I've been trying to point out.
now we need a vote of approval for the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 special board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the January 24th, 2022 meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the January 24th, 2022 minutes.
Is there a second?
I don't have a second yet because I'm trying to, which is the 22nd meeting? Was that a workshop? Or what was that?
24th.
24th. What
That was
was
the
the
special meeting we had,
2022.
regarding?
the polls and the.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All done. Done deal.
Motion passes.
You got it. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That was easy enough. Before we proceed, do any commissioners have any changes to the agenda?
I don't have a change, I just have a request in the things here, and maybe it's here, but in it's not a change, it's just a question. We have on the agenda the Daniel Munt evaluation,
Yep.
and I did an evaluation, I don't see it printed in here. Is there a reason for that, so that the other commissioners can see my evaluation?
Because if you will recall, Vice Chairman Neville, in the workshop, I believe, that we had, when was it, the 31st of January? The direction was to allow the executive director to review her staff. And that was the direction I received.
That wasn't in the contract, though. In other words, I know that was said, but it wasn't like we took a vote on it and said, no, our opinions cannot be, or should not be publicized. It was more like a suggestion, and you said, is that the protocol or something like that? I don't remember us saying that we had to do that. I think it's a courtesy that
Well,
they
I
should
would-
see the opinions of the
Then I would say,
commissioners.
then, if you know what you wrote, then discuss it. Talk
Yeah, well, I
about it.
can read it out. I just
Yeah,
want to know
that's
why it
perfect.
wasn't included. And I don't remember any change in our contract where that both you and Dan were to get evaluations, but not that you would do the evaluation and that would be that.
I can send you a copy of the video.
No, I remember the video. I remember the discussion, but it was just sort of a suggestion. We didn't make a vote on it, decide on it. John was just thinking that, maybe that's the protocol, okay, but it wasn't.
So we
It's
can,
not a big deal, but I'm just saying, if a commissioner makes the effort, I understand where you're going with it, but or why it happened. So I would just move that I can read it, I have it. I think it's a courtesy if we're doing evaluations. I don't think it's a big deal, but I think it would be appropriate that it's public. It should be made public during the meeting, the evaluation. And I understand how it didn't get put in, but now when we do that, I can read it from my emails unless you have a print of it somewhere.
so we do have some, James, I understand from the here, you had just some discussion time for Daniel's title and salary adjustment, is that correct?
Yeah, like anytime you guys want to discuss something before voting, it's.
That's
fine.
done
not-
deal.
Yeah, it's not.
Okay, let's do that. Let's make some time for that.
Mhm.
Public comments. We will now open the meeting for public comment. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. And once closed, any questions, comments will be asked via the Zoom meeting chat, where a staff member will either answer it via chat or pose the question to the proper person. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? James, would that show up on the board somewhere?
Yeah, I'm looking to see nobody's raising their hand, so.
Yes, Will can actually hear us.
Can everybody hear me? Ralph, can you hear me? When I raise for public comments, is that okay? Did you hear that?
I can hear you, and you can ask for public comments. Are there any public comments? And then if people want to speak, they can raise their hand on Zoom, or they can put a message in chat, or if they're there in person, they can stand up.
Great, thank you. James, do we see
I don't
anything?
see any hands up.
Okay. Let's move on to financial reports. We will now move on to the financial reports. Treasurer Pyle, I guess it's you. Please update the board on our budget performance.
As far as the general fund, things appear to be pretty much in line with budget. No surprises year to date. We've got 4 months of the fiscal year done, and the revenue minus expenses for the first 4 months show that revenues are up about $400,000 versus that the revenue. The revenue has exceeded the expenditures by about $440,000, which is about the same as a year ago at this time. As far as the capital budget, that is now reflecting the $14.3 million that's been expended so far for the renourishment. All other expenses in the capital budget are in line.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add to Dick's comment, Dick, I think can quantify this also, or not quantify is the right word, but for the past 15 years, we've been very aggressive about trying to save as much administrative money as possible, roll it into the capital budget. So every 8 to 10 years, there's always been $1 million to $3 million extra to put in. So it's not like, hey, we got all this money, let's spend it.
And if it's hanging, or
Just sort of explaining the past legacy and philosophy of the CEPD.
Yeah,
That's a nice overage.
Sorry, can I also say something, Chairman? I just wanted to also note on the financials, if you look at the labor, I know that's been a big concern regarding additional staff being hired. If you look at the labor and you look at what was budgeted for consultants and special services and what was budgeted for staff, we're still under budget by $13,041.67 for the month. I just wanted to point that out.
Question from Commissioner Pyle.
Please.
Was it ever discovered, or maybe it's a question to the staff? At the last meeting, Commissioner Pyle wanted to know about the Amex that apparently, how many people have an Amex card from the CEPD?
About 6.
Six.
All the administrative staff does, yes. That
Okay.
was, that was set prior to us, though. I mean, it was my understanding from our previous director that of administration that we all would get Amex cards. So that's something that we have in the office.
Yeah, well, we understand how it got there, but fellow commissioners, having several businesses combined, do you see any rationale for everyone carrying a card when 90% of the purchases are made through the computer, through, I mean, is there any reason, James, you need to carry a card?
There are times when I need to make a purchase in person or on the computer, but yeah, like, it's just a convenient thing, like usually, before I got mine, I'd have to contact Dan or Jen, and if they weren't around, then I'd be pretty much.
So, but usually, isn't there someone assigned to be the purchasing agent, for office supplies, or, I mean, the CEPD for.
We've never had that here before, but we could certainly do that. We
Or
have
just someone in charge of
somebody
buying
in
the
charge of
stuff.
Procurement, absolutely, we can
Yeah.
certainly do that. The main reason that we need cards is if we travel, to be able to have it to use to pay our hotel and to have it with us.
Right.
I don't keep my card, take
Right,
it with me. I
yeah,
leave it in the office. If I need it, I take it, whether I'm taking out a stakeholder for lunch or I'm going traveling like we did this last week, I'll take
Right.
it out of the drawer and use it.
Dan, what do you use your card for?
Just travel. As we onboarded new staff, I went to the electronics store and got the computers to make sure we all
Right.
got the right ones.
Right,
Other than that, like Jen, I just locked up and safe.
I mean, most of the stuff's done on the computer.
Well, no, I mean, there are things that they have to purchase. Lindsay will have to purchase office supplies.
Well-
Sometimes we don't have an online account for that, something we could certainly look into. It would require us getting a credit card from maybe Office Depot, which we can certainly look into if you prefer.
Well, I'm just trying to correlate. I mean, I have a department store with 20 employees. We have one card that we do maybe 10 times the amount of purchasing and events that you guys do. We have one card, which is incredibly efficient. So, if there's needs for office supplies, there's a 10-minute discussion. The list is made. Someone's admin orders it, and it's done. And yeah, there should be a card if you're going to take someone to lunch or dinner. But I don't see you and Dan doing separate lunches and dinners. I don't care whether you do it or not. I just find it kind of optically unnecessary. And I assume, is there extra charges for each card? Is it like $50 extra a card? And it's also right for access for well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, fraud. I think,
haven't seen
and
it.
I understand, I'm
Should I
not
see it?
blaming you all. You said that was the precedent. It's like optically in the community.
So I take care of the Amex bills, like when they come in, I
Yeah,
attach all the receipts and make sure there's no extra charge for any of the cards.
yeah.
And
didn't
I
think so.
do, anybody that does anything, we make sure that there's a receipt, and then like Jennifer, when I get her receipts
Yeah.
in, I highlight hers in like pink. And that way you
Yeah.
can see anything she's
Well,
used.
usually it says the name on it.
It does say the name,
Yeah.
I just do that extra step to make it
Yeah.
easier, so you can see, okay, this is a receipt that went with that, but there's no extra charge.
Yeah,
and
no,
we
no,
do
I,
have to have,
yeah.
they are monitored, and anytime
It's-
I send it to Treasurer Pyle, Jennifer, and then Jason, our accountant.
And then apparently the accountant didn't pay the bill in time. We got to, was there any?
I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah,
What
I
that
forwarded
was,
you, I
he,
forwarded that to y'all.
He, Jason said that they missed paying. And so there were actually a couple of months in a row where the bill was not paid on time. I get the bill. I don't get it anymore. I think he changed the bill now goes to you guys, or is it still going to me and then I scan it in?
That's how I usually get it. It comes to me through email. And I did have him pay it down. I just said, before they went on the trip, I had him pay it down. And on their last WWRE, on their last invoice, they did deduct that interest fee
Yeah,
that
I
we had
noticed
paid.
that. So they.
Yep, so he credited that. for us.
So Executive Director Nelson, for the next meeting, would you just have a brief report on this issue in terms of the money being spent, why different people spend the money, and this issue about the Amex card not being paid on time?
I'd be happy
Can
to
you
put
put
that
it just in
together
the next
for
agenda?
Friday and send it out in my administrative report.
Yeah,
And then also, if you all would be more comfortable, we can certainly write an SOP that outlines what you want the process to be.
Well, it's a wonderful way to spend time, but may I make a recommendation to simplify, make it clean and clear, Chairman? Yeah, you get a card, you put it on auto pay. At the end of the month, you see who bought what, or if you need a second card because two people are doing lunches to carry the card. And then at the end of the month, the treasurer looks at the bill and sees what people are buying. And it's done, and there's no, and then it's on auto pay. So I don't know if the accountant charges us more to take care of that, but this way you eliminate all this time and all this meetings. And it's like, again, I go to Sanibel that requires a 4-page form to fill out to do a kid's car wash. Because there's so many people working there that they have to feel that they have to do something. And we're small here, we're
would
simple.
you check on that auto pay, please?
Yeah.
And have a note for next meeting
Yeah.
on that. Give us some ideas of
I
what's
could
going on.
actually do that and put it in my administrative update for Friday, so you all have it ahead of time.
Good, let's do that.
I hope you don't mind me, just
No, hey,
cutting the bureaucracy.
you're elected too, pal.
Sorry.
Okay, moving on to old business, we need to ratify the ropes and poles from the special meeting where we did not have a physical quorum. Chair, can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll definitely motion.
Is
to
there a second?
ratify. Second.
Okay, so discussion.
Yeah,
Please.
Can you give us an update on Dan or Jen or anybody? We told them to go ahead. And we also said, and by the way, if you can get the round poles, we want the round poles. And then they got back to us and said, well, they can do square poles. And that told me that they had already, because with lumber yards, nothing gets stored in lumber yards. There's orders and they go up. So it sounded like they either had access to a set or they had what we call drop, where by doing other jobs, they got a bunch of square ones. Now, and then I thought, well, the reason they got a bunch of square ones is square ones are not as pretty as round ones when you're putting poles on the beach. Like, show me a dock with square ones and I'll show you bacon that's kosher. So we said that we would want the round ones when they got back to you, but it's been like 10 days. Can you just give us an update? Are they just, because you said you were going to reach out to the other commissioners
Yes.
and ask what was the deal? Do we wait the 15 days? And it might be longer, but you're going to be staring at these polls for 9 years. So can you tell us what the outcome was?
And this may eliminate further discussion later in the agenda. It's actually on the agenda items, but the change order's been initiated to have the round poles as I mentioned in an email update to all the commissioners, they're able to do the round posts are available, but they're gonna be 4 inch instead of 3 inch, which I believe is a very significant difference. And we'd anticipate installation to begin at the very end of February to the beginning week of March. Do the
So
3
we're getting the round ones,
Yes.
bottom line.
Yes,
Because when we spoke on the phone, you said all they have is a square, and the email said, if they can do the square ones right away, but the round ones, all right. And you reached out
Wasn't
to
that
the
our
other.
sense? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, that's all, just so, because we never, because you couldn't tell us, so everyone was okay with that, they were reached out.
Correct.
So, yeah,
My understanding was the round ones would be available 3 to 4 weeks.
yes, sir.
The square ones were available right now, but we decided to. And then you sent that letter around all of us. I think everybody
Yes.
responded.
so
All the
everyone was,
commissioners
yeah,
responded individually that they would like to proceed with the
kept keep with the
posts.
round ones.
So that's in motion. That'll be installed at the beginning of March, late
Okay,
last
well-
week of February. if things go well.
Thank you, fellow chairman, for championing the aesthetic.
So
over
when you
expediency.
say ratify the ropes, we're talking again about the round poles.
Yes.
Okay,
And the ratify was simply to make it okay.
Because we didn't have. a
So they're
special
already
forum.
on it, so this 3 weeks is now 2 weeks. or
Yeah.
4
Yeah.
weeks. Thank you.
so are we all in favor of ratifying the vote we had before?
Yes, yes. Aye.
Any nays? Nope. Motion passes. Move ahead. Excellent. Okay. All right. Now let's get an update on the dune planting protection. Technical Director, can you give us the update?
And what I just went through was the update that the installation should begin the last week of February, beginning week of March.
Are we going to discuss signs later?
Yep, it's in the, yep.
Okay. All right, so that's a done deal. One thing to note, and again, I know we're looking down the road 8 years. Need to figure out that if we're gonna do this ropes and poles and dune protection and dune plantings, somehow we need to get the timing better than what we had this time.
We'll involve it in the initial request for bid in the future. There's a lot of items that have come about during this nourishment that we can make note of and improve on and forecast a little better for the next one, when we're not playing catch up. One of the items is, I
You
don't know
said-
if it got a
you
lot
said-
of attention. but
You
we
said
had
a lot better, not a little better, right?
a lot better. It should be, the next 7 years should be the difficult times. The construction should be the easiest part because we should be practicing and improving on everything that we do and being ready for it. And if we're ready for it, then actual construction is like game day on football. You practice all week for game day.
Okay, done deal. Executive Director, under this new business for Daniel Munt, does Dan need to leave the room or does he stay in the room?
Well, you can stay. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, no, it's fine if he stays. I sent you all a copy of his performance review, which was excellent. Pointed out a lot of his accomplishments and some opportunities for development that he's aware of. He and I met about it a few months ago. We went through the review, talked about the plan on how to get him some of the development with public speaking and networking and things like that. And I'll go into a little bit more later when we talk about the conference we just came back from and our presentation there and how well he pulled it. So no, he doesn't need to.
Okay. All right, so first up, we need a motion to change Daniel Munt's title from Technical Director to Director of Operations.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Executive Director, would you explain for me why the title change?
Thank you. Yes, as both of you know, or all of you know, when Dan and I started a little over a year ago, our job descriptions definitely didn't match all of the job duties that we both performed. So we had a outside consultant come in and do an analysis of both the salaries and the pay ranges. And based on the duties in the job description, duties performed, She gave her recommendations and applications back January 31st, I think, was the meeting, during our workshop. One of the things that I've committed to Dan is to develop him so that should something happen to me, he's able to step into my role very quickly, and be able to work with stakeholders, be able to do presentations. We have our TBC presentation on the project coming up this Thursday. We were unable to do it in January due to both of us having COVID. So that's one of the reasons. I feel also in looking at his initial job description, there were a lot of things missing that were operational that he works on and assists me with and the other team with. But, my main goal is to use this title change and salary adjustment so that I could develop him further. So that again, he's able to step into the executive director role should that be necessary.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any kind of comment?
Yeah.
Renee?
Yeah, I do.
Dick? Go ahead.
So I have a letter. James, can you? No, I'll read it. It's brief. And then I want to, this is my evaluation, but more importantly, I want to explain something. And it's not a criticism in any way, shape, or form, but for example, the numbers that were listed by Dr. Pruitt, who's a very, very prestigious of what she does, didn't really match up with the reality of what's out there. So for example, the other position was put at a certain number, and yet the lady who works for us, who did both Jennifer's job as director and Dan's job, was paid a number that was, nowhere near. So in other words, like in a pro forma, you can put any numbers you want and quantify it, but the reality is, what are people really being paid out there? And then it's based on, and Dr. Pruitt did say, well, we looked at other beach
Point
erosion
of
people.
order here.
Yeah, sure.
Are we talking about the salary or are we talking about changing the title?
No, we're no, oh, excuse me, but it's already been agreed that we've changed the title. We passed it. We just said yes. We didn't, why, you need a vote on that? Forgive me, sorry.
Okay. So
Yeah,
James, please call the roll this time.
Chairman Bill,
Aye.
Vice Chairman, Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Treasurer Pyle.
Aye.
Okay, so
Passes
now,
unanimously.
so now I'll read this and then,
Right, sorry.
next we need a motion to adjust Daniel Munt's salary to the median salary for a director of operations, which is $96,091 as recommended by Dr. Angela Pruitt. Can I get a motion to adjust the salary for the director of operations Munt to the median salary of $96,091? We get a motion so that we can discuss it. The motion doesn't mean we approve it, it just means we're discussing it, right?
I'll make that motion.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
Good.
Okay.
Now Renee, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay, so the numbers that Angela came up with, I don't want to go against them. I just think that there wasn't enough real, there were no comparisons. And the only comparison I could come up with, not with Daniel, but with what was being floated for Jennifer, didn't match. But I think I'd like to read my evaluation and then my
Floor is yours.
suggestion. All
Floor
right,
is
so, thank you. And you'll find that sometimes, because all right, so the Daniel Munt evaluation. Since Daniel came aboard, he has come up with mapping techniques and other innovative web-based information systems that are nothing short of stellar. This last year, via his own curiosity, he discovered a math error generated by our economists that, when corrected, resulted in $1 million extra in funds from government sources to assist our community. He is respected by Lee County executives with his innovative abilities that directly enhance the CEPD as an organization. This past year, he has made healthy progress in public presentations to the community, and my feedback from community members is that they are very impressed with him for his ability to listen and have viable, intelligent, and articulate solutions to the issues at hand, not only from a project perspective, but administration protocol as well as in their one-on-one conversations with Dan. To be succinct, Dan is an asset to the CEPD. Perhaps the best staff member I have ever interacted with in my experience for the past 2 decades, outside of our very first leader, Allison Hagerup. He is bright, creative, and his practical awareness is reassuring. Dan can deliver a very bright future with his skill sets and professional attitude, and his military background is a plus when it comes to deeds, not words. I recommend the cost of living increase, which is not 9%, it's 4.7 for last year, and an additional raise to justify reward his accomplishments above and beyond the call of duty. And to add to that, I think the raise should be, so it totals 96. But I wanted to put that. So I don't like the model that Jennifer did. I think it's just numbers picked out of, I know how she came about it. I think it's based on
Let's
performance.
clarify, that was Dr. Pruitt.
Dr.
that did
Pruitt,
that.
Jennifer,
No,
excuse me,
don't
I'm
need to be
sorry.
on the record.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. I'm so sorry. All right, Dr. Pruitt, who I know very well, and she's one of the best, but I think these numbers were just pretty numbers. And so the bottom line is there's comparison. So I would like to recommend that number based on the cost of living of 4.7 plus a raise based on the fact that he delivered a lot of money to the community. And in respect for that and his new maybe scope of work, that number. Now, I did not look at the contract if there was any changes, like you don't want to go to the office anymore, stuff like that. We have to talk about that. But as far as the number goes, I would recommend to the other commissioners, he deserves it, he earned it, and he got us $1 million thing. So I think when you do things like that, and I know people would love to steal them, that we have to take care of people that take care of our organization, do the right thing. So I just want to point it in that realm and in that vision.
Treasurer Pyle? Any comments?
It was my understanding that Renee's comments were supposed to be put in this booklet today. And I'm very curious as to why that didn't happen. Because you had a very good review of both Jennifer and Daniel. And I think that all the commissioners and the staff should be seeing this.
Right. You'd have to ask, Jennifer did explain that there was some discussion that she would decide and tell us what's best. We didn't really okay that. It was just sort of discussion and she went ahead and put it that way.
It was staff direction, and I can certainly send you both a copy of the video and
Yeah,
print that
It's
out.
no big.
It's not a
clearly
video.
No, it's
is.
not.
It's a Word document.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I think we all would have been better served to put Dan's thing in there. It would have been a nice
Yeah, I'm
gesture.
just following staff direction. So it was directed to me in a meeting, which I'm happy again, to send you all the video if you'd like to see it.
John, do you remember it was the last discussion, she was saying, you asked, well, how do we do this? Do you do it and then give it to us? And she said yes, and you said, okay, so that's
Well, no,
what we're
actually, I
discussing.
think I quoted the meeting back in October when we had former Commissioner Mullins, and I was asking the question to clarify performance. Does the executive director do the performance evaluations on her staff?
Yeah.
The answer was yes. You all said yes, okay. Then I reconfirmed it in the January 31st workshop. meeting.
Right, okay. Well, is Dan a fellow executive or is he staff? I thought he was a fellow executive.
He's staff. To me, he reports to me. I report to you. Now, if you all want to change that, you certainly can.
Yeah, see, I unfortunately don't remember when Mike took my selection and his selection, brought you together and made you number one and him number two. So I don't know what the protocol was for chain of command. But yeah, it does make sense that would be what's decided.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would have put it in there. I think would have been a nice gesture just to show. And by the way, even though I'm supposed to, Chairman Maville wrote this and we thought it should be included. That to me would have been nice. And this is not a criticism, just a point of view.
Okay. All right, we have a motion to adjust the salary for the Director of Operations, Munt, to the median salary of $96,091. Administrative Director, please call the roll.
All right, Chairman Sylvia,
Approve.
Vice Chairman Bill,
Approve.
Treasurer Pyle,
Approve.
passes unanimously.
Congratulations, Dan.
So I would suggest going forward that when we do this, that I would agree with Treasurer Pyle. I would appreciate Dan's comments individually.
Well,
Just as an-
I was referring to not only the comments about Dan, but the comments about our executive director. That's for another meeting.
That's it, but that's for another meeting, right?
Oh.
So we're not doing
that today.
Jennifer today, so.
Well, there were emails
That's a
sent, Mr.
separate-
Pyle, that clarified them.
Which
So
going
that-
forward-
Well, in all
Executive
fairness,
We'll make sure
James, this
that-
is a criticism, and don't take this the wrong way. When you sent the email, you sent 5 in a row,
Mhm.
and it said change it. It should have been crystal clear. Please note the changes, the following,
I
and
think,
explain it
think
so we
those-
kind of know what's going on.
yeah, those emails, I think the ones you're talking about were just auto-generated by
Oh.
Outlook. I did send out an email that said, hey, this is the changes that were done.
Yeah.
But those other ones repeatedly, like anytime I make a change, it sends out a notification to everybody.
Or also knowing, now this is how we did it before, when there was just 2 people working. There'd be a phone call.
Oh.
And they'd say, hey, I just want you to know, this is what's going on.
I can
You know,
definitely do that.
That's interaction.
Okay.
You know, and that's good, because I get about 600 emails a day, and they're not spam. And I'm not trying to brag or impress, I'm just saying, it's, with all the analysts coming in with their ideas, that you're gonna end up with ulcers and break
I think
even.
Commissioner,
Pick up the phone.
I think Commissioner Lavelle has a good point. Just pick up the phone and call.
Yep, I can definitely
Just
do
let
that
us
going
know.
forward,
It's a
not a
big
problem.
change.
It's phone calls are really key because
So,
I think we all get a lot of emails and oftentimes it's
so
hard to
when
get
are
through.
we, so when are we gonna
We have to
do the
schedule.
evaluation of
Jennifer.
Jennifer? When is that scheduled?
We don't have it scheduled yet, Commissioner,
Well,
sorry.
I suggest that we schedule it for the next meeting.
Should be March 7th.
March 7th,
Yeah, that's the next meeting.
and let's do it. Put it on the agenda. Okay, now we have, again, everyone knows we had some issues with the voting process last month and a lot of what was with the vagueness of the SOP. Again, SOP, standing operating procedure. When you do the agenda, just put the SOP after the SOP. So good.
Say that again?
You get standard operating procedure for title and B, just put SOP after that.
Okay,
So that, sorry, but I was in the army too, and it drives you nuts. So it's- Okay, Administrative Director Elston took it upon himself to look over the SOP and make the appropriate adjustments. It has been looked over and approved by Ralph Brooks, and now we need to vote on it. Administrative Director, could you please read the SOP?
Going forward, the steps that will be done is the CEPD shall solicit applications to fill a commissioner's position. Solicitation will be made as follows. We will announce the vacancy at the next board meeting. Send a beach brief announcing vacancy within 2 days. Announce vacancy at next Captiva community panel meeting and place an advertisement in the local newspaper for a minimum of 2 weeks. Applicants will be requested to submit an application as well as a resume or other background information. Upon receipt of all applications.
Administrative Director, could I interrupt for a
Yeah, go
minute?
ahead.
You talked about newspapers. Are we doing any social media? Social media part of the requirement?
Yeah, we do that as well, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, pretty much anytime we do anything via beach brief or newspapers announcements, we always make sure we do a social media post.
Thank you.
Once all applications are submitted, the information will be distributed to the current commissioners. You'll then place the appointment on the agenda as soon as practicable. Each applicant will be requested to attend a scheduled board meeting to present their qualifications. Each commissioner will have time to ask the individual any questions. Each applicant will be provided an equal amount of time at the discretion of the chairman. If more than one seat is vacant, the following steps will need to be done for each vacancy. Upon completion of the interviews, each commissioner shall rank the applicants in order of preference, with the top applicant receiving the numerical value of 1, and the next highest applicant receiving the numerical value 2, and the ranking process continuing through the remaining number of applicants. These rankings shall be provided to the board secretary or an appointee who will tally each ranking as follows. The person with the most first place votes is announced, and the call for motion, second, and vote will be taken. In the case of a tie, remove all candidates that are not included in the tie. Tally the total numbers for the 2 candidates that tied. The candidate with the lowest total is announced, and the call for a motion, second, and vote is taken. If there is still a tie, discussion should ensue and a vote taken again. Retally with the most first place votes. If all that fails, should the motion fail, subsequent motions shall be considered until the board fills the vacancy. Once the board has been voted on, a commissioner will send the board minutes, copy of the oath, and 2019 Form 1 Statement of Financial Interest to the Supervisor of Elections Office, as well as the Florida Division of Elections. On monitoring, the CEPD Administrative Director has overall responsibility for gathering information for the Board of Commissioners. All votes are to be kept and become public record. The CEPD Commissioners are responsible for appointing the new commissioner.
What about the reading of the votes? You have to read them publicly. You have to, I mean, is that in there?
No, that's what we're gonna do in the,
No, but you're saying you're talking about the SOP. So you do it per, so if there's 2 seats,
yeah, I put that in. I
you
make
get
sure that-
first place, okay, and then you start all over
Yeah,
again.
I put that in there.
Right, and you have to read the
Yeah,
votes.
that's what it's gonna.
Do you have to read the names against the votes?
I conferred with Ralph beforehand, and he said the one way we could do it is I could just like go to you, for example, say who's your first choice, write it down, second choice. write
No,
it
that's
down.
not what I'm asking, excuse
All
me.
right, I'm sorry.
We write down our votes we're supposed to sign,
Yeah,
Good
I've
thing.
got ballots.
and then you
everything.
have it, and you have Commissioner Jones votes, 1 for Commissioner Smith, for Mr. Smith, 2 for Mrs. Jane.
I could do that, or I could have, like I said, I could have
Well,
you
no,
call it
but the
out.
question is.
Yes,
Are they read publicly
yes, that's what I discussed that with,
with the name of who voted?
yes,
Okay. that
that's
was
what I
my
discussed with
question.
Ralph beforehand.
So you have to do that.
Yeah, I can do one of 2 things. I can either pass out the ballots to you guys, have you fill them out and then read them off. Or I can just go down the line, read it out to you, you tell me who you want, I write it down, and then you sign the ballots at the end.
So either one of these is consistent with the SOP.
Yes,
Ralph, quick comment. Is this SOP the way you understand it as being appropriate?
I'm looking at the SOP. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
On, it's page 3. And we can add in there. You'll see where it says underlined, these rankings shall be signed by each commissioner. We can add in the words and read out loud at the meeting. And then provided to the board secretary, and then continue with the rest of it.
But it was my understanding that we had to have that in there because of sunshine, right?
Mhm.
And then we
Well,
talked,
since we talked about it today before the meeting, we're talking about now reading out the votes out loud, and that's a good idea. And for sunshine, so right where it says these rankings shall be signed by each commissioner, comma, and read out loud at the meeting. That way, if people are attending by Zoom or listening on the telephone, they can hear the votes if they can't see them and they're not there to see them.
but.
So if you
Mr.
could add that language and will be read out loud, it's right after where it's underlined, these rankings shall be signed by each commissioner, add the words and will be read out loud, either by the secretary or by the commissioners themselves.
And we talked prior to this meeting, that one of the ways James could probably do that too, is just to call on each commissioner to talk about their first, say their first and second choice, correct? And then he tallies it, they sign it.
Again, so you just say, and will be read out loud at the meeting. You could say by the commissioner or by James, however you would like to do that. You want to add it to the SOP so that it's consistent each time.
Okay,
Okay, James, that's now in there.
it will be, I can't edit it right at this moment, but I made a note for it.
Oh, you made a note, so
Yeah,
we're gonna
it'll
go ahead with that, right?
Yep. Yep.
Cool.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
You've got a copy of the original SOP for elections with the changes in there? Is that,
Yeah, there's a copy in the,
so the only thing that's changed is the stuff that's underlined?
that's correct, yep.
Otherwise, the wording of the entire SOP is the original.
Yeah, we just added stuff to make it,
What does it say per seat? We have to go through the process per seat, because that was the snafu last.
We
time.
did add that. That's on the bottom or the top of
Okay.
page 4, or excuse me, top of page 3. If more than one seat is vacant, the following steps should be done separately for each vacant seat.
Why do we use the word should? It's gotta be must.
Should, shall, and must are all considered the same.
That's
If you'd
okay.
like to use the word must, you can,
It's just-
or you can use shall.
Shall, there you go. That's a nice one.
So what's new about the SOP is everything from if more than one seat is vacant. Everything related to the old way we used to do it, if there was just one seat. It's
We
still
never
in
had
there.
two.
Nothing has changed about.
Um,
one seat.
Sure.
there's also like,
We never had two seats before.
some more clarity for like when the beach brief announced it. Before, there was no time frame, so we added that in there to give direction, as well as posting the time frame for how long an ad needs to be posted.
With 2 days, the 2 days and the 2 week.
Yeah, and that's a minimum 2 weeks. We did a minimum 2 weeks. That way, if in the future commissioners want to run longer, we can do longer, but at least needs to run for 2 weeks.
We're gonna read it out loud, the results.
Now, I'll give that.
All right, and Ralph, you all set with this SOP?
Yes,
Good. All right, so we've had our discussion. Administrative Director, please call the roll.
All right, Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Reville,
Aye.
Treasurer Powell.
Agree.
All right, passes unanimously.
You notice that you and I share chairmanship, vice chairmanship all the way through this, you know, keeps on flipping back and forth.
Can, we agreed on your salary, but I didn't look at the contract yet. So that means you still get your money, but we gotta look at this contract just to make sure there's, I didn't look at the changes. So we're agreeing to the salary, but we have to agree to the contract and when.
Isn't the contract in our packet?
It is,
James, you did notice
Page
that our
25.
positions are flipped.
yeah, it was, yeah, I copied and pasted and corrected, but I made notes on my end to make sure it doesn't have anything.
Great. Okay, are we all set now?
Just to clarify, we, I don't know if we did a motion for that last,
To approve the
to
SOP.
approve the SOP. So just to cover,
Yeah, we did.
So we had a motion to approve the new SOP. Was there a second? Yes. We had discussion. You call the roll. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I called the roll, but I don't recall who did the motion or who seconded it. Thought we might have skipped over it.
Renee, I think
I
Renee.
think, I think we
Say
did.
what?
I think once I read the SOP, we didn't actually go through and do an actual motion.
After you read it.
Yeah, we didn't go through and do the motion.
Okay. So,
So just,
so my question again is, can I get a motion to approve the new
Yep.
SOP?
A motion.
Appointing commissioners,
Second.
motion,
All right.
second,
And then
read, call the roll.
I, Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Reville,
Aye.
Treasurer Pyle,
Agree.
passes unanimously.
Okay. All right, so as I read this, the next agenda item is to discuss the commissioner appointments of seats 1 and 3. Administrative Director, can you lead us in the process of appointing the commissioners?
All right, thank you, Chairman. Like I just read the SOP, so, just to clarify, there will be 2 separate votes, so we don't have that situation again. On the ballots, you will, put your name and sign it and date it, that way it's public record. In terms of how you guys would you be more comfortable if I pass out the ballots and fill them out and then I read them? Or would you like me to just read it off?
We just call on them to say their choice.
Well, I would recommend we fill them out, gather them and you say,
That's
yeah.
what I'll do.
I agree. I think you need to put something on writing and
I need a pen.
go for it. You can't get one out of pen?
What's that?
You can't get one out of pen? You're not
I have a
fully
pen
dressed?
for you.
Thank you very much.
These are 4 choices.
Yeah, you write
Seat
in.
one.
Yep, this is the ballot for seat 1. You write your first choice on the top and fill in the names.
Do any of the commissioners have a comment they would like to make before voting? Because you can't say anything after we vote.
Yeah, this is the first time in a very long time that someone just doesn't get appointed because there's other people that want that seat. It's been 30 years, 25. So it just shows that the interest on the island is there and we can choose. And, you know, a lot of nice people want to get.
Renee has a comment. Dick, do you have a comment?
I don't think so.
You all set?
Was I supposed to? have-
Chairman, if I could read that part of the SOP, just so we're sure. Each commissioner shall rank the applicants in order of preference, with the top applicant receiving the numerical value of 1, and the next highest applicant receiving the numerical value of 2, and the ranking process continuing through the remaining number of the applicants. The rankings shall be signed by each commissioner and read out loud at the meeting. So I think that what's important there is you rank all the candidates. So, and it's sort of, instead of just voting for one person, you have to rank all 4.
And I'll just make my comments, keep the gentlemen know. I have some certain strong preferences in terms of my top 2 candidates. I'll just let you know. Thank you. So we write it in?
You write all 4 of your choices, top line being your first choice, all the way down to the 4th line being your least choice, or 4th choice, I should say. All right, so the votes are in. I'm gonna start with Chairman Sylvia. His votes, his first choice is Al Shuley. His second choice is Linda Laird. Third choice is Susan Henry. And his fourth choice is Bob. Next we go to Vice Chairman Ville. His first choice is Linda Laird. Second choice is Bob Walter. Third choice is Al Shuley. And fourth choice is Susie Henry. Treasurer Pyle, his first choice is Linda Laird. Second choice is Bob Walter. Third choice is Susie Henry. Fourth choice is Al Shuley. Based on the votes, the person getting the most first place votes would be Linda Laird. So then we would need to do a motion.
The person with the most first place votes is announced, and the call for motion, second, and vote will be taken.
So do I have a motion to appoint this candidate to seat number 1?
So motioned.
Is there a second? Any discussion? I think that's fine. Call the roll.
All right, Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Ville,
All right.
Treasurer Pyle.
Aye.
Aye, passes unanimously. Linda Laird will be appointed in seat 1. I have the oath right here for you. Yeah, as soon as you take the oath, you can go ahead and sit up there and take part in the rest of the meeting.
Okay.
Oh, wait for the second vote, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Let's do the second vote first, yeah.
Yeah. All right, State of Florida, County of Lee, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida, that you are duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that you will well and faithfully perform the duties of the Commissioner of the Captiva Erosion Prevention District, of which you are now about to enter, so help you God.
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Sounds like we-
You know, you get a certificate from the congressman usually.
Ooh,
No, or the, some,
maybe I'll put it on.
yeah, I got a bunch. I finally put them up, so. I had to get some.
All right, so now we'll do the ballots and pass out for the seat 3 now. I'll do that as well.
Can I have my other one back so I can date it? I didn't put the date down.
Yep.
Sorry, it's the 8th.
That's his.
Just in case someone wants to get cute. Oh, no. Yeah, I know. Can I keep it just for the meeting?
Yeah,
You need, is this yours?
yeah, it is. I've got another one.
Supposed to be voting? Not yet.
Well,
I would like
No.
to abstain.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Ralph said just wait until we do the second vote and then you're welcome to join them on the dais.
but she said gracefully she would abstain.
All right, so now the voting's in. I'll read the ballot for Chairman Sylvia. His first choice is Al Shuley. Second choice is Susie Henry. Third choice is Bob Walter. For Vice Chairman Bill, his first choice is Bob Walter. Second choice, Al Shuley. Third choice, Susie Henry. And for Treasurer Pyle, his first choice is Bob Walter. Second choice is Susie Henry. Third choice is Al Shuley. Bob Walter received the most first place votes. So we'll need to do ask for a motion and a second, and then a vote to make it official.
Do I have a motion to appoint this candidate to seat number 3?
So motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Aye,
All in favor?
Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Bill,
All right.
Treasurer Pyle.
Yes.
All right, passes unanimously. All right, Bob, I'm gonna have to read you your oath for you. All right, State of Florida, County of Lee, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida, that you are duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state, and that you will well and faithfully perform the duties of Commissioner, Captiva Erosion Prevention District, of which you are now about to enter, so help you God.
I will.
All right. And then we'll have to get with you to get you to sign your oath at some point as well. Yeah.
Understood.
James, you're a notary.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in the process of doing it.
Should I give you this? This is mine.
Give it to Lindsay.
Yeah.
Here, what is the form?
That's, we
Okay.
have
Yeah.
to.
Want me to do it after the meeting?
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
I signed it already. You can
Thank you.
take the oath.
Okay. Oh, yeah, but then.
I'm a notary and I can virtually digital sign that if you'd like.
He's a notary.
Are we set to move on?
All right, here we are. You can, if you'd like, you can go.
Okay. Next up, we had a workshop on January 20th, 2022 to discuss possible switching over to Park Mobile as our new way to pay for parking at our Hagarup parking lot. The proposed contract was included in the meeting packet. We now need to vote. Do I have a motion to approve implementing Park Mobile going
So-
forward
So
as a
motion.
means? So motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
And also call for public comment. If there is any.
Comment? Okay. Do we have any public comment on this?
See no hands.
Okay. Administrative Director, please call the roll.
Aye, Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Seville,
Aye.
Treasurer File,
Aye.
Commissioner Laird.
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Bob Walter, I'm sorry.
We are-
Aye.
All right, passes unanimously.
Here, it was brought to our attention by Bob Johnson that in previous years, there have been permanent signs up to instruct people to keep off the dunes once the ropes and poles were put up. Administrative Director, would you like to give us information on these signs?
Yes, per Bob Johnson, he informed us that in previous years, and he actually showed us an example of the sign, which, that's not it. It's in the packet.
Yeah.
Where it, these were the signs that we had up before. So we put in, contacted our sign person to, see about getting these same signs done. We were quoted, we figured, no, it's too small. 200 signs, which is $15, it'd be a 12 by 18 sign, 200 signs, it costs $15 a sign, so it'd be a total of $3,000. I asked, normally the signs are $20 each, they're giving us a $5 a sign discount for a bulk order. I reached out to Bob Johnson, who would agree to put these signs up for us. He quoted us a price of $850 to install the 200 signs. And all this also include him buying any materials he needs to do it. The plan right now is to have 2 signs per beach access, and then that will allow us anywhere from 6 to 8 extra signs if we feel like we need to place them in other spots as well. The total for both the signs and the installation would be $3,850, so $3,850 for both purchase of signs and installation.
So just a quick clarification too, there are 93 beach accesses that are going to have the posts and ropes, and as we agreed before, they would fan out at the end, so this would account for one side at each other end of the fans. We could certainly adjust that number, but 200 would be the suggestion to do 2 per, and then that would leave us with 14 signs to place with intervals where there are two.
How many signs can I ask a question?
Can we go in order? Renee?
Yeah, I would recommend to the other commissioners here to consider first that once the poles and the ropes are put in, to see the effect of people not trampling. Because you're gonna get homeowners, they're gonna look at their lovely poles and their lovely growing dune and then see this ugliness next to their $10 million home. So I don't ever remember this particular sign living here on the beach for 35 years. I do remember, I just don't remember that. Dick, do you remember these signs?
Yes.
Treasurer
Yes.
Prince?
Well, yeah, but not on every home. So what they're proposing is putting one at every home.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
Commissioner
would ask for,
Daniel would like to.
I would just like to clarify as well, the sign itself, the design of the sign is something that we can adjust if it's an issue with the design of the sign. If just not wanting to have the sign there altogether, that's certainly at the commissioner's discretion, but we wanted to present this option.
no, it's a great option. It's viable. So in conclusion, I would recommend absolutely in all the major traffic areas, Andy Rossi Lane, Michael Lane, all those places, I'm sure they're going to be very happy to see those things. But there's a lot of private homes that maybe wouldn't be. So I'm just asking, would it be possible to maybe crawl before we walk? Because walking down and seeing 50 signs, it's like, are we in East Berlin again? Or, you know, it's a bit much. And I would just ask the consideration of, first step. And also Johnson's price, in my opinion, is very, very nice price. But I would strongly recommend that we maybe do the high traffic areas and then, I don't know, then if people are still complaining that after the ropes and the flare that people are walking on the dunes, then put more in. So,
Commissioner Elliott, you had a comment?
I had a question about where they were last time. Do we know?
We don't have a historical.
Okay.
I
So
do, I know.
my,
They were at the high traffic
Well-
areas. They weren't at every home. Go
Well,
ahead.
This
Commissioner
sign,
Laird.
this sign, I think, is up in front of the Rauschenberg property.
Likely.
I think I walk by it every day.
Commissioner.
Yeah,
I believe this, I have also seen it at Lucky Duck. My recommendation would be similar to yours, like at the Lucky Duck, there's some places that, like where I am at Sunset Captiva, I believe we had one maybe.
yeah.
Maybe the Rauschenberg, wherever, and at the beach access, and maybe there's one over by a couple over by Twin Waters,
Well-
but just a few. I don't want them all over the beach
Yeah,
myself.
you'll see
Can we get a,
So Dan, let me ask you a
recommendation
question.
for a specific number?
You mentioned the word before. So there were signs up before. What happened to the signs?
Well,
When
much
they-
like the
the
fence
poles to
posts,
see
they
the
were-
Yeah,
grade.
they were taken down by
in
storms.
fact,
Yeah.
the picture
They
there
don't
is on
last too
one of the posts at the Allison Hydro parking lot. on
Yeah.
the post.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were on the post that were up before storm came through.
There are actual, forgive me,
Well,
and
please.
just to answer everyone's question. The high traffic areas can also be included where there is an easement that belongs to 6 or 7 homes.
Mm.
And there's maybe 8 or 9 of those.
Mhm.
So I would, we own one of, we own 2 of them. But there's that, there's there's about 5 or 6 between here and Twin Waters. And I'm sure that if they were up in arms, they'd get a screwdriver and take it off. So I can call you later and or you can figure out, but if you just look on the LIPA site, you'll see the easements.
So may I suggest, Dan, the sense of this commission is that you look at and define for us the high traffic areas. You come back at the next meeting and talk about how many signs we can actually use for the quote high traffic areas and go with that rather than a blanket number of signs.
Sure, and
Let's do that.
if we vastly reduce the number of signs, if the commissioners are in favor of signs in general, then price would go down below the $2,500 limit.
Right, you don't need anything. Good point, very good point.
And I don't.
So
thi-
I can approve signs with neon lights.
That's
You
right.
can, as long
That's
as they're
right.
under $2,500.
Go ahead, Commissioner
According
Laird.
to the-
I'm
And
sorry.
the neon color is
Yeah,
green,
right.
and it's
and
green on the
Most
neon.
places,
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. We were going in order and Renee was, I guess I'm supposed to be next to Renee right now, but a couple of questions. One, the high traffic areas don't always necessarily mean they're not renters. And I think to Renee's point, if I own a home, I get that I don't walk on the dunes and very, very little traffic's coming down my path going to a dune. But areas within all of South Seas, with maybe little traffic, are a lot of people that aren't familiar with what to do and not to do. So I do believe those should have signs on them, even though they may not be high traffic areas. And then secondly, I've seen these signs go up many times where we try to save $1 or $2 and not get stainless steel screws. And they rust out, the signs fall down and look terrible. If we could just make sure we have stainless steel screws. Thank you.
That includes stainless steel.
I'd like it, if we use this type of a sign, I'd rather have we say, please keep off the dunes rather than keep off the dunes. It's a little friendlier
Yeah.
approach. So put please in there or something.
I think with the phrasing, I would like to move forward something similar to the temporary signs in place stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can put like a little CEPD watermark in the
Yep.
background.
yeah, very
Needs to
nice.
have our logo for sure.
Yeah, good
I'm a fan
branding.
of the QR code so we can get people quick
QR
access to
code.
our website.
Would that fit under the $2,500?
Yes, we have the QR codes on the temporary signs too. And they're very helpful.
And James, did someone raise their hand? Are we able to identify when someone wants to speak remotely? Okay.
Great.
So I will say we table this until you come back with something.
We don't need.
Doesn't have to.
Can I-
We don't have to, we'll just come to you with the final cost, since we're cutting down the amount of signs as being mentioned. We'll come to you with the final cost, which should be under the $2,500 threshold.
Commissioner Flynn.
And my opinion is on the lower traffic, high traffic areas, you probably don't need two, okay?
Yeah, that
Just
makes
one.
sense.
And you'll have to figure out, Dan, what the high traffic, low traffic areas are.
Yeah, so we can
And we're gonna learn
communicate-
by experience. We'll see what happens over time.
And we can communicate maybe in the administrative update on Friday. I can take a look at how many access points that we can target.
Yeah.
Come up with a number to you and
We can send it out Friday in the update.
and we should be able to adjust the cost. We may have to get a new bid from
Yeah,
Bob
well-
Johnson, because if he's not doing 200 signs, it's certainly not gonna cost $850.
Right. And please let him know that this commissioner really appreciates his very, what's the word, when someone gives you a good price, we appreciate that kind of bid.
So Dan, you're thinking that both the signs and the labor of putting up would be under 2,500?
Can I ask a question regarding the dunes themselves, which is related? Is there any way, is there anything wrong with us sending out a mass email that if you have a beachfront and you think your seagrass is withering because it hasn't rained in 3 weeks or seawater garden, we strongly recommend you can take your hose and give a little watering, or, you know, just suggest to them because they're not helpless. They
I
have
don't see
hoses, they have
anything-
maintenance people.
I don't see anything wrong with that, and I will say that there are some property owners on Captiva that do a great job. I know, I'm not to call you, but Susie Henry does hers almost
Yeah.
every morning. I've seen numerous others. I don't know the property owners by property, of course, but
Well, some people need 200-foot runs on their hoses, but I'm just saying, because we did not, there's something to learn for the next big project, but in the scope of work, we have to say, and if there is a dry spell for 3 weeks, part of the job is they have to come with their water tank and a Jeep and spray them. They did that at the last time, so
and I'll also.
lesson learned.
Can I also mention that there are large stretches of the beach currently because of the tidal cycles that are where the COs are under sand currently, but they're, so there, it does look like they're not there, but they're under the sand and they're still viable. They're very resilient, they'll pop back.
Well, I
up.
didn't know they got covered.
And they're doing their job.
Yeah.
They are
So
stretching
how
the
would-
sand.
So how would they protect it? If they're under the sand, how would somebody who wants to do beach volleyball know that they're there?
Because usually they play beach volleyball, not in the dune area. They play in the larger, where there's larger land piece.
They'll play wherever it's flat.
They're
I'll
up
also
about-
say that
they're up
the
about this high. Okay, the way around me, they look like they shrunk, okay? But the
'cause
dunes
of sand.
are
The
going up.
sand, yeah.
So I will say also that the areas where they're under the sand are the more narrow stretches of the beach that are in the high erosion areas. I did notice a few small areas that maybe on thicker beach.
Where?
Just north, they're in like the high erosion areas and stretch, if you can picture the apportionment map, stretch 3 and 4 is where I noticed them under the sand.
Well, the relationship to the village, we're talking.
It's south of.
South of the village, so between
Three and four is the village.
the library.
Yes.
Okay, so before
Between
we
the village
adjourn,
and the library.
Executive Director, do you need to send new commissioners the basic sunshine law
Oh, yeah, I
outline
have
to
all
make sure?
that. James and I, before we
We
left.
don't,
Yeah, before we
because
left.
none of us can talk to Linda anymore.
Yeah, so.
I know, I was
I
having.
will also mention that we will set up the new commissioners with an email address.
Mhm.
my CEPD
We really
address
need
and
you
order
to
the
use
records.
the CEPD email address. We really need you to use it. Just keeps everything cleaner and in case we get a public records
But we still
request.
can email each other.
We'll set you and Bob up with the important documents and the links. And then we're planning, James and I were working on our agenda and items for the commissioner orientation. We're putting a booklet together and also putting some items on a flash drive for everyone. So we're gonna set that meeting up probably toward the end of the month or 1st of March to go over just basic. Ralph is gonna do the presentation on Florida Commission on Ethics and also the Sunshine Law. So he'll be doing that part of the presentation, but we'll provide you with our rules of procedure and the legislation. and the links for ethics and sunshine.
And the
We'll give that all
Robert's
to you.
Rule of Order book.
Yes, we have a Robert's rule of order book for all of you.
Before we move
Go ahead,
on to
Dan.
the dunes, and the ropes and poles officially, there's a member of the audience that wants
Oh, please.
clarification of who maintains the ropes, poles and signs if they fall off or damage. And I would potentially say that would be CEPD.
Yeah, it's us.
Yeah, again, it's somewhat difficult to, because I don't know if someone wants to talk remotely. So make sure
Yeah, that's why.
you
that's why,
guys
yeah, we just
let
wanted
us
to
know
do-
as soon as possible, someone wants to speak. All right,
If that's the case, no, there's some of the old nylon rope. If they could make it disappear, since if we're responsible for it.
all right.
That's part of the bid, I believe, is they're gonna be taking the old broken.
Oh, good,
poles.
good, okay, well, that works.
We checked, we verified that.
If no one has any other business, I motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
We still gotta do, for administrative reports.
It's real
Yeah.
quick. Very
And
quick.
then you have commissioners conference afterwards.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
very quick. So I just wanted to, two things. First of all, as you know, we participated in the National Beach Preservation Conference, Technical Conference last week in St. Augustine. We met some pretty incredible people. We saw the Earth Balance folks who do lots of dune plantings around the state. We learned about some really great preventative measures, excuse me, for storms. So one gentleman from Louisiana presented about sand walls. When you anticipate storms coming, hire a contractor to come in and build a sand wall because it actually protects the homes and your shoreline. So we learned about that. We also learned about shell hash, which is something that you can put on your beach and vegetation grows on top of it. So again, for storm protection, it's sort of a new discovery, a new green discovery. I will be putting all of this information in the PowerPoint and sending it to you all on Friday. I had some other CEPD work-related things I had to do this weekend, so I didn't get to it, but I will get to that this week and send it to you by Friday so you can see. Basically, we kind of divided and conquered on some things. We went to coastal resiliency portions, and then we also went to look at other renourishment projects and learned about, you know, bringing sand in on the trucks versus what we do, making sand piles where you pull it out of the ocean and you have it on the beach and then you spread it. It's a lot more efficient and faster. So we learned about all kinds of neat things possibly for the next project. And as we go into sea level rise, you know, we learned about some pretty great new green infrastructure type items.
And
So
this
I
will
will-
be also on your website.
Well, yes, well, I'll do the PowerPoint first and I'll send it to you all in our administrative update on Friday with our sign update. I'll have all that to you. And then, yes, Chairman, we can absolutely place that on the website.
And what will we do for social media to get out the word that we did this?
Oh, Laura's already been hounding me since, I don't know, midnight Saturday morning, give me something.
Can I ask a couple questions
Oh,
about that? So Jennifer,
Commissioner
when you
Lavelle?
when you saw the, when you looked at the resiliency, was there any discussion about the fact that the governor has allocated all first requests for funds, nothing in Lee County, nothing for the Barrier Islands, all for the reservoirs and stuff like that? Was there any discussion or plan of attack? or-
There really wasn't. I mean, I
or
received
God,
an
like we don't
email.
exist?
I received an email from, while I was gone, Joel from Sanibel sent it to the Sea Level Rise Committee. And Commissioner Lear, feel free to jump in if you want to explain, because what I'm doing with that, and I've got to talk with the Sea Level Rise group, is I forwarded that to Sam, who works with Nicole at Aptum, who helps write those coastal resiliency grants, because they're actually requesting more information from us. So
Well, not just from us. I'm just saying everyone got ignored. So I'm sure there was some really good requests out there. Has anyone talked about some kind of strategy to get the government to understand resiliency is Barrier Islands, not big sugar?
yeah, so, okay, I'll let.
So the ones that have been awarded were
That's it.
for more build projects rather than, or engineering projects rather than planning projects. There's a $20 million grant for planning projects and doing vulnerability assessments specifically. The state is looking to get everybody to do their vulnerability assessments and whatever in this certain manner. Okay? which for Captiva, we do not have the storm part of it. We
Yeah,
have
we
the
just
other-
have the inundation part. No, I
The
know,
in-
I
right.
know, I
And
got it.
Sanibel has neither. So Joel is working to, and then they ask certain people to resubmit. What Joel said, well, Whitney Gray said is they put, or somebody said, they put them in two piles. And there were ones that weren't going to make it and other ones that they wanted to fund or went past it. Ours was in the, we want to fund pile. But there's $90 million of requests and $20 million in the budget for it. So that's where it is right now. Sanibel and the Sea Level Rise Committee is working to answer questions and resubmit in the way it is supposed to be resubmitted. So it's a positive statement. Also in speaking with Cheryl Hapke, who has talked to other people, she said that she believes they want to fund Sanibel Captiva, but I don't know that, you know,
Right.
I don't know.
So
So
Jennifer might have an answer. Jennifer, is there any up to the, is there any up to the minute real time knowledge so far on the village bill? Because
So-
if we're on that category, then we can
Right,
take
so
the steering
unfortunately-
wheel and the gas pedal.
I was supposed to head to Tallahassee after this meeting, but because it's going a little longer than anticipated, I made the decision to reschedule my trip. I did talk with Ellen on Friday, Thursday and Friday, and she doesn't think we're gonna have any issue
Yeah, it
updating
really
that bill.
looked like that in letter. Did
So
fellow
I-
commissioners see the letter? It was pretty positive.
Yeah, so I spoke with Representative Tana, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then of course, Representative Jane Lombardo on Friday, and educated them again on what we're doing, about their commitment to support. So I would say, once we do this update with Joel, and I know Joel, I know you want to speak, and I'm gonna let you talk here in a second. My recommendation and both representatives' recommendations were, we all write letters of support to the Southwest Florida delegation, because then they tip off, they let the governor know, hey, Lee County, the governor loves Lee County, he comes here all the time. So there's no reason why we wouldn't be able to get some extra support from our delegation. We just need to educate them and make them aware of what all we're doing. And I've done that, but I didn't have, like what Joel had written, I didn't have that to send to them to show them. So I would like Joel to speak. He said he can talk about the next steps. And then Joel, just so you're aware, I reached out to Sam and Nicole at Aptum, because Sam does a lot of these resiliency grants across the state. And she said she'd be more than happy to look at any adjustments that we have, and she can help us with the language and what she feels would be appropriate to write so that we're awarded the grants. Yes,
Can Joel identify himself with the public record?
absolutely. Joel, could you tell us your name and where you're from?
Sure, Joel Cowett, Joel Cowett with the City of Sanibel Natural Resource Department. And yeah, so I feel, I was gonna chime in, but I feel Linda Commissioner Laird had encapsulated it pretty well. You know, we submitted a kind of a request for, or a letter of intent, or I guess an application of intent to DEP for their last sea level rise funding cycle. And you know, they awarded the grants to the regional entities. So like the Southwest Florida Climate Compact received 2 grants from the program, and you know, the implementation projects are being funded currently right now. And we received because I submitted the grants on behalf of Sanibel and Captiva. I received the email last week that we've been invited to submit a more detailed proposal. The proposal, in like Linda had said, the state has taken, you know, has given a lot more funding to resilience, you know, resilience work. And they've actually, you know, there's actually state statutes now that are how a vulnerability study is supposed to be listed out. So, you know, calling out certain assets and whatnot. So I'm reworking the proposal to, you know, include that, you know, to be within the, you know, the statute requirements, you know, to try to seek funding for this project.
Joel, this is Dick Pyle. Have you guys been working also with Carrie Schumann and the CCF on these projects?
Yes.
Is everybody bringing everybody else along?
Yes, yeah, we've been Carrie Schumann. Yep, she's helping out, and you know, when we submitted this the initial application, you know, it was done with work from the subcommittee from the Captiva community panel. You know, I believe Jennifer was included in the communications and had input as well. You know, for the initial proposal. So yeah, I am working with Carrie right now. The turnaround time is very, very limited. It's very, very quick. It's due on Monday. And we essentially had them, you know, found out about it essentially on Wednesday, that last Wednesday, we were asked to resubmit. So I'm actually working on it right now, you know, try to turn it around in that time frame.
Joel,
Thanks.
did we get an extension?
We did not get an extension, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I did ask on Friday, and because this whole thing, and just so everyone has, Linda, so I mean, you already kind of know this, but you know, everything is kind of materializing on the fly with the state right now. You know, we submitted this grant back in I call it a application of intent. We submitted this, and they didn't really have. They knew what the state. The people we submitted it to for these planning grants, they knew that they were going to have criteria, and they knew that they were going to have a paring down process. But when we submitted, and up until through almost Thanksgiving, they had no idea what that was going to look like. So this is all coming into fruition very quickly. What you know, and their selection process and whatnot. So it's kind of this. And again, this is the first year of this, and I think subsequent years are going to go a lot more smooth, especially with having this standardized vulnerability assessment. It's basically, you know, we have a very narrow framework of what we need to stay within, and it's important that we do stay within this, because the way that the funding in the future is going to be set up is that if when you conduct a vulnerability assessment, if you don't specifically call out let's just say the Sanibel Fire Department, if we don't specifically, you know, call out the Sanibel Fire Department in a vulnerability analysis at some point prior, if we go to seek to get state funding, you may not necessarily get a state funding for an infrastructure project, because of, you know, to make it more resilient to sea level rise and things like that. So that's why they have these criteria, you know, set up for their vulnerability assessment. And Linda is correct too, that they have $20 million available, and there were $90 million requested through all the different projects.
So back to Renee's point, which was that funding for these other projects have all been internal to not barrier islands. Is there a way that we can influence anything, Jennifer, that is say that, well, all of these other projects were non-barrier islands, you need to take care of barrier islands, at least in the planning?
100%. I mean, this will all be, when I'm able to go to Tallahassee, hopefully in a few weeks, I would like to get input from all of you, so that as I meet with our legislature, I can tell them, you know, here's the things.
And it's really important too, because getting this grant and bringing this work up to whatever it's supposed to be for both islands will be this precondition for the later funding.
Our legislatures are on board 100%. We just have to sit down with them, explain it all to them, so that way they can let the governor know, hey, you know, this is what we need. We're barrier islands here in the county. You know, this is the support we need. So we just need to get their commitments moving forward, which I'm confident they will all commit, because they do, you know, they take care of us. And
so is there any other support that you need from this group?
from CEPD,
Yeah.
Or, actually,
Or from
yeah,
the county. I don't
I
know.
would say once, Joel and everybody weighs in and finishes this quickly, the request that they made, once that's done, and I have a copy of that, then I would recommend we ask for letters of support, to Representative Botana, who's our rep, Commissioner Ruane, who's our county commissioner, so that they could write letters, in support of what we're doing.
I think you should also keep in mind that you talked about how CEPD is involved. We've allocated $75,000 to SCCF to pay for half of Carrie's
Right.
cost. And I think that's a great example of organizations on the barrier islands working together and making sure that our representatives know that this is a joint effort. So if they hear from CEPD and then they hear from SCCF, and then the guy from SCCF says this is happening, then you've got that support, because you don't want the legislators to pick and choose between the different organizations. I don't think. I think
No.
we
Yes.
we're more powerful if we speak with one voice, and I think that's what Carrie's going to be able to do. CEPD is we put money on the table ourselves.
So from my opinion, this is my opinion, you want CEPD, SCCF, the panel, the mayor of Sanibel,
Absolutely.
the head, Kevin Ruane, and I think we've sort of,
Probably have our chairman write a letter as well.
yes, I said CEPD, didn't I?
I don't know.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
So in finality,
Mhm.
it's nice that most probably we'll be getting our own entry card into our direct,
Mhm.
and the real push here is basically, like Jennifer said, educating the legislators. There was a lot, but it's a group effort. It's going to take a village. But the reality is that once all the benchmarks have been scripted, as far as the various, inundation, now sea level rise for storm protection, we have to figure out a way to get the lobbyists, not the lobbyists and our legislative delegation and who's ever out there, because they all horse trade there. They say, look, you do this, I do that. So the governor is going to be very flexible in the next year or two for maybe his political ambitions. So it's really a horse trading situation where we have to give as much ammunition as possible to our legislators to say, here's the issue, here's our proof, here's our answers, we need this funding, this is our direction. And so to make it very difficult for the governor, who at the end can veto or accept, the real push here is to educate and inspire our legislative house and senate, the people that we interact with. And the good news is, in this room alone, I know Jennifer and I know a lot of the same people. She knows more of the newer people. I know some of the older people, but the people I do know still highly respected. Their former house. What's the word? When you're in charge of the entire,
Speaker of the House.
allocations,
Speaker of the
that
House.
too. I mean, I got 3 or 4 people that when they talk, people listen. So all I'm trying to say is that the real win here, the real buttons to push are the legislators that are going to trade with the governor. But that's what they do. They trade. They say, okay, I do this, I vote for this, you vote for that. So I think even if we have our own direct funding source, that should they allocate funds to the district, keep in mind that the game is won by educating our legislators and knowing that those are the decision makers, those are the people that have to go to the government and say, please, not just agriculture, the rest of us.
Executive Director Nelson, you want to finish with the publishing board meetings comment?
Yeah, so we just got a bid while we were away, and I wanted to bring this up. I continue the actual bid and I update on Friday. But we're gonna need approval to do an ad in the newspaper, news press. Approval is $2,800, is that right? Yeah, $2,800, so we can list all of our meetings in the news press for the year. And that's a requirement we have to do. It's part of our,
It has to be the
Laws.
news press, it can't just be the Sanibel Captiva little newspaper.
I mean, for
And if you
historical
don't know,
purposes-
it's fine.
For historical purposes, we've put them in the news press and we've put them online. Now, we can change that, if you all like, but I'm just
So
going
what's
based
the
on history.
requirement? Who's requiring us to do this?
It's in one of the SOPs.
It's one of our
Newspaper of public circulation.
public circulation. And-
Written when there was
I
no
defer to
media
Ralph.
internet.
Yeah, Ralph, what do you recommend? Do you think we could put it in a smaller newspaper instead of just a news press?
I think the more places you can put it, the better.
So add it.
Well,
Add the
20
smaller.
That's a
newspaper.
But
non-answer.
nobody's gonna read it.
Right.
I mean, we put them online, we put them, we
Yeah,
have
but
it
if
on.
it's in the news press, nobody's gonna read it.
Well, there's a bigger point.
For legal advertisements, so you have to advertise sometimes in a newspaper of general circulation in the county. So when there's legal requirements, that's why we typically do the news press. But, and the Islander and the other Captiva, Sanibel papers are more widely read on the island.
But it's a community, excuse me, it's county for county issues, but if this is, yeah, I see what you're saying, it's a Lee, we are part of Lee County, we're not a municipality. But let's phrase the question differently. Why can't we just have the local papers? And the reason is because we delayed our bank funding by 30 days because of a glitch of the news press. So we don't want to fall into that trap again, into publishing something that, like Linda said, no one's going to read. So legally, can we just do the local papers? Local.
But to
media.
refresh everybody's memory, we had an advertisement that was sent to the news press. I believe it's called Gannett Publications. And they put it by mistake. I believe it was in the Escambia newspaper in the Panhandle. So we had to redo that one. But I think we'll have to look at it, the statutes, depending on what you're doing. Sometimes the statute does say a newspaper of general circulation in the county. But I seem to remember that there was a legislative bill last year regarding publication. So let me check the statutes as they were updated last session and see what the current law provides for publication.
Before we spend the money.
If you
let's-
could
let's
do
get
that,
it.
Ralph,
Waste of time.
and
Sure.
then send it to me and I'll put it in my administrative report that I'm gonna send out to them on Friday. And that way. that I
Okay, excellent.
Give you
Yep.
all a heads up
Yep.
that this is coming, I'm gonna need approval on this so that we can,
Check it out.
yeah,
See
so,
what, see what
and
you and
real-
Ralph can work out.
really quickly, I wanna go back to Daniel's increase and change in job title. We did put a new and updated contract in here, and the changes are highlighted on here. If you can see, there are lines that are going through things. The biggest things that we changed, obviously, were his salary. The other thing that we changed was the benefits and the PTO. It went from 14,400 to 15,000, an even number, which we had also done on James's contract when you all approved that back in the fall. And the reason I'm asking this is because I'd like to go ahead and get this approved today. Dan has some things he's working on
PT.
personally and needs this document to move forward. So if you look at that, the
What
other,
page you were talking about?
I'm so sorry.
25 of
Page
60.
25 of 60. And then the last thing is regarding PTO. So if you'll recall, when our former director of administration left us, the way the old contract was written really didn't protect us. Because what it did is it said that we would pay out any time, we wouldn't pay it out. That's what it was. We wouldn't pay out any leftover time. So what happened with this individual is he came to me and said, well, I'm going to use my last 3 weeks because I have 21 days of PTO that I still have, and I'm going to use that and not come to work. And so when I checked with Ralph, that was totally legal for him to do. So I changed that in our contract. So now we'll just pay off any unused time. So that way, if we're in a situation where we don't have any backfill and we have somebody just leave abruptly, because they're gonna take all their time off at the end before they walk out the door, that protects us, because that way we can ask the individual to stay and actually work and cross-train some folks.
Okay, so what you're asking is that we have a motion to approve this employment agreement. Is that correct?
Correct, I pointed out.
That
many
has to be
changes.
second, that has to be voted with the five
Yes.
of us.
Yes, and they're no different than the contract you all approved for James back in the fall. The only difference in Daniel's is the salary and the title.
So,
Okay,
so the
we-
motion, go ahead.
Well, before we start a motion, I've been reading this and there's some statements that
Well, we'll start the
before-
motion and then we discuss
you
it.
can, but you might not want to make the motion. is
Okay,
my
go ahead,
point.
please.
All right, so I say this based on the fact that I would like to, just to be considered here, that I talk with Dan and go over this. You know, we're guaranteeing the 96K, but I'm looking at this, it's not 96K. And then he wants another 15,000.
But that's
So
not-
Dan, you started this,
That's a stipend in lieu of providing health benefits.
so my
retirement.
question is, I'm not against it, it's a question. So my question is, when you and Mike negotiated the salary, it was like 70,000 or something like that?
70,600.
Plus, did you get a $15,000 PTO over and above that?
14,400.
Oh, so you did. See, now that's the question. Okay, so the reason I say I'd like to talk about that is because I don't want to kill the vote. But there is this little thing here that says work shall is crossed out, that you don't have to be in the office. And you will not have my vote. And I guarantee you, I will convince everyone else. If
Can
you
I
think that the
clarify on that
office is
point?
going to be a suggestion,
Can I clarify on that point?
please.
Is- It says that work shall be completed at the CEPD office unless there's some pandemic or something like that. This precludes me from working at home. So anytime like you want to call me when I'm working when I'm at home, then I'm working for CEPD. I can answer.
Well, we can change it, but it really says that you can legally never have to show up at the CPD. And we don't want to have this outside that the office is a suggestion. It's very bad for a million reasons, especially with you. The more you're here, the better it's going to be, the more you're going to learn. So if we can rewrite that states that is expected that you maintain most tasks at the office, running things. You know, the beach isn't in Iona, the beach is here. The technicians are here and everyone wants to come to Captiva for a meeting because they can go on the beach. So
the
I guess
reason
what I'm
for-
saying is I have a real problem with that.
So the reason for removing that was more so to prevent ambiguous language in the contract. Because without designating what tasks have to be here, the rest can be handled in, say, a performance evaluation on a periodic nature, you know, okay. Then you're not showing up to work enough, and I've shown over the course of the past 15 months now that, you know, I'm not gonna look for a reason to not come out to the beach unless there's something really preventing, and
But you don't
Not
think
having-
it says it there? Work shall be conducted at the CEPD offices on Captiva unless work tasks require the presence at another location. That's normal, or unless temporary emergency conditions.
Right, but I think what we're trying to say here is that due to this pandemic, due to all of us having COVID,
I don't like it.
well, I'm just saying what
I think it's a push, not for you, but I think it's in hers. I don't like it. I
was
think
on
it's a
that
push
issue
not to be at the office.
Say
No,
that
you
again,
gave the
I'm sorry.
clarification. I just think that I would love to. Your money is insured, your money is done. I would like to have just either now or, you know, I could talk with Ralph, and get something that's acceptable. And Mike negotiated their contracts. Things have changed, you know, and I feel, you know, we all love Dan. It's not like it, but it, you know.
So what you're saying then is you want to take away the flexibility, you want to make
No,
sure
I
that,
want to negotiate verbiage that I'm happy with
right, but
when
the-
it comes to here. And I don't, you know, as far as impression and loyalty. I'm not worried about that. I don't like that language.
So for example.
I don't like it crossed out entirely. Go ahead. Good.
So for example, if you said occasional work from home is, or something, some other verbiage that shows that, yes, occasionally, if he's at home, it's okay.
I don't think it has to be said. I just said that work is to be performed at the CEPD office unless reasons mentioned. It should be, it was there explicitly, because Mike Mullins knew that without it, there would be a legality, well, you know, I don't have to work there. It doesn't say I have to work there. See, you just said it, it's crossed out. I don't think it's a good move. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know Dan would trust me to say, let's talk, you know, I don't have to do it right now, but just something that you're happy with. It's your contract.
So Dan, what
I'm
do you
your
need,
biggest fan, Dan. You
what
don't
do you
have to
need from
worry.
us today? Can we somehow go forward and then Renee and Ralph can work on that wording?
We could say effective
What do
immediately, you get
what do you
more
do?
money. That's not an excuse. me.
What do you need?
So I understand. I guess in the interest of transparency, the reason that the contract is important to me, I put this off since November 30th. I'm closing on the house next week and the mortgage lender is pushing me for the contract.
Right.
So how about we have it in 24 hours? And I'll call the
Because
mortgage
you have
broker
to have a
myself.
vote. You would have to vote on it.
Oh, forgive me.
So
yes.
here's what I would,
Yeah.
here's what I'd recommend.
Yeah, please.
I would recommend that you make a motion to go ahead and approve it. However, there, it may be subject to change on this portion pending my conversation with the CEPD attorney.
Yeah.
Does that work?
And yeah, I like that. But Ralph, do you have any instant words here on how we can just do it right now and just change the verbiage here and he's done?
Unless we update that in the job description that we're just to be.
Well, you could look at what is in the existing contract and kind of wordsmith that. It said, you'll see the strike through language, work shall be conducted at the CEPD offices on Captiva unless work tasks require the presence at another location. Or
Right.
unless working at CEPD office is not possible and must be conducted remotely due to pandemic, hurricanes, or temporary emergency conditions.
And you got your contract.
I don't understand what's wrong with that.
It's struck out.
I know it's struck out. I'm agreeing with you, Renee.
Yeah, take it, look, if you want to.
You could put it back in, or you could put a portion of that back in. That's up to you guys to decide as a policy matter.
You know, we've never given you a hard time about not being here.
That's fine. The only other suggestion I would have, if in the hierarchy of things, if Jennifer's writing my reports, we can put unless other pre-authorized by the executive director or something to that nature. That's the other.
Yeah, you don't even have to put that because it's just added verbiage. I'm just saying, I don't want it struck. And if you want to keep it as it was, I'm ready for a vote.
Why
So-
don't we just add the word at the beginning of that sentence, struck out, just have the word generally. Generally,
Or majority.
generally.
I think generally is better.
My thought is Renee can make a motion that this language not be struck out. We can have a second on that. We can vote on it. And basically, we're all grown-ups, and I think we understand circumstances are what they are, and we're gonna move forward. But there's no need to strike this, as I understand the sentiment.
Are you cool with that? We just want to unstrike it.
We've been fine for the past
Yeah.
15 months, no issues, no complaints.
So Renee, go ahead and make a
It's just matter
motion.
of
I'll make a
refining the
motion that
language.
we approve the contract provided the language regarding not, you know, excuse me, the actual language is to remain of just the, okay.
I have another question about the paid days off, which I wasn't paying attention because I
Yeah.
wasn't involved. And I don't know if.
I'll second the motion.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we got a motion on the floor, sorry.
Okay, so let's just focus on that motion.
And then now comments. Oh, no, yeah, we have a first, a
Discussion.
second, now the discussion.
Mhm.
So
Now-
Linda, shoot.
Okay, so on paid time off, why was it taken out that it can't, that it's removed? Because here's, in my work history, the most paid days off we would ever get would be 1 or 2 or 3. And actually where I worked, if you were sick, you were sick and you stayed home. And that's the way it worked. There was no carrying over if you had. So maybe this is, and vacation, so if what we're saying is this is vacation plus PDOs. Maybe that's, and so you also have the national, and so what you're saying is basically get 4 weeks of vacation. That's what it's saying.
This is the same numerical amount that was
We
in the
had
previous contract. We
previously.
just grouped it together as PTO instead of vacation.
Correct.
Sick and
So
separated out.
you just can't carry it forward.
Right, we wanted an accrual. An accrual is better because that way you earn the time from the hours you work. So to avoid the situation we had previously where we said, you know, it's not gonna carry over. Okay, I'm the employee. Okay, well, I have 21 days, so instead of the 30-day notice you just gave me, I'm gonna be gone for 21 of those days because I'm gonna use my PTO. That doesn't protect the CEPD. So that's why when Ralph and I spoke, when we let that employee go and we brought James on, we talked about changing that language to protect us so that that way we don't have an employee just up and go. They have to work their 30-day notice so they can help us cross-train or work in cross-training. And that was a huge deficit that we
Okay.
discovered.
I'm
That's
fine with
why.
it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we've had a discussion.
Mhm.
Do we need to call roll call?
Yeah.
Can you read the motion?
The motion is to approve the contract, but with taking the strikeout through and just tweaking, I believe.
The strikeout of section 3 that work to pandemic.
Yep.
The words work to pandemic remain.
Just
Section 3. These have to be more.
this, section 3, the sentence that starts work shall be conducted,
Mhm.
is that sentence is supposed to be reinserted with generally in front of it.
That's what we,
You can't.
That's
It's
what-
just,
that's
I
what I
want
think
the
is-
whole thing back in that
yeah,
basically.
we'll do it the generally in front of it.
Yeah, you can.
And we have
We have a motion, we have a second.
second, so now we need to vote.
Yep,
Chairman Sylvia,
all right.
Vice Chairman Seville,
Aye.
Treasurer Powell, Commissioner Laird,
Approved.
Commissioner Walter.
Approved.
All right, it's unanimous.
Okay, I think we're all set. Is that correct?
Okay.
Commissioner comments.
So
That's it.
there is no other business. A motion to adjourn?
No comments from you?
Comments.
No comments from me, no.
People got plenty of mine today. so. Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right,
What,
all in
excuse me?
favor of adjourning?
Oh, excuse me, yeah.
I need Vice Chairman Maville, who's taken over the beach project, the beach celebration. I need him to give an update. to
Oh,
everybody.
yeah, forgive me, yeah, sorry.
Sorry, you, Jen.
Yeah. It's not,
Well, it's under Commissioner comments.
yeah,
Everyone, sorry, I have hard stuff. I gotta go.
yeah, you're fine.
My apologies.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Sure for the
Welcome,
workshop.
Bob, since I was here before you.
Nice to see you, Linda.
What is the workshop this Thursday?
It's Cheryl Happ's presentation.
Okay,
Oh, wait. hold
That's
on.
next Thursday. There's no workshop this Thursday.
there's no workshop.
No.
What happened to the strategy setup?
We have the 17th and the 24th
That's
for
right.
the workshop.
I would do a workshop about apportionment. That is the most important thing that we need to realistically do. It's like, we got a test coming and no one's doing their homework.
Yeah, I was gonna raise that question about how are we doing on apportionment?
Do we need a workshop on it? Because we don't have the final numbers
We
from the
don't.
project. We're still working on requesting. the
I would just do a little strategy because where are
We did
we
a
with the
timeline.
economist?
We did a timeline
Yeah.
per Chairman Sylvia's
Mhm.
ask. We did a timeline, we did a beach brief on it, and we posted it. As Dan started to say, you know, we can't do anything. The economist got the information that he requested finally last week from Bob. Bob said it second, so
Right.
he's working on that. He was working on it last week while we were gone. So we don't have that information yet.
Okay, so
But-
you know that with him, unless you call.
Oh, I know, he's on the list to call this
And
week. We've
say-
just been back since Friday
No,
night.
because, well, how about this? How about if you do get the numbers, if you call Bob and ask for the numbers, I mean, what is it, a couple of hours for him to actually punch in the
Who?
numbers? Strong.
Bill
Bill,
Strong, oh,
yeah.
yeah, he's on the
If he
list.
has the numbers,
Mhm.
then we know what we're dealing with. I think it would be a very smart move to have a workshop to deal with, okay, these are the numbers. How do we pitch the county to say, how do we get this extra million? And, it could be a half an hour workshop. But I'm just saying, can I ask if you can get the numbers? that we
Yeah,
need?
that sounds great. I thought you were talking about the celebration.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. That's real
On
fast.
that.
We just realized that, because I
So-
asked about the workshop.
So we just returned from St. Augustine from a Tuesday to a Friday night trip. So he is on my calendar to call tomorrow, Bill
Okay.
Strong. We had the meeting today, which is
Right.
going on a while.
Yeah,
And I can certainly call him on my way
2 hours.
home, or I can call him tomorrow morning, which was on my calendar.
yeah, let us know if
To
he's got
follow up,
numbers.
but we have to have a week to set a workshop. So
Okay,
we have
fine.
Cheryl
Yeah, let's
Halke,
do it.
we have Carrie Shu in the following week, so we could do Bill Strong after, but to answer Treasurer Powell's concern about not knowing or not hearing about the apportionment, we did put a timeline together, send out a beach brief and put it on social media.
As
So,
it relates to the party and the celebration.
no,
I
just,
can't imagine going to that celebration on April 24th and not getting questions about when is the apportionment going to be made.
That's why we're gonna do it earlier.
right, so Vice Chairman Lavelle
Yes, okay,
is
so,
gonna talk about the changes that have occurred
Yeah.
since we last spoke.
okay, so at the last, I don't know, it was the meeting of the workshop, I said, when a football team wins the Super Bowl or a baseball team wins the World Series, they don't do the parade 4 months later. They do it shortly thereafter. And apparently, because for whatever reason, the lady who you spoke with, Cheryl, what was-
Cindy Kaiser?
Cindy said, oh, well, can we do it at the end of season? Because that way, it won't be booked. And so, because I asked, what was the rationale for waiting 4 months? So bottom line is I called Tony. Tony said, yeah, of course, when do you want to do it? And long story made short, we picked a day where the yacht club on Mondays is not open, so that he could utilize their parking lot a little bit. And the soonest to do it where there's some, what do you call it? Plaques and certificates of, of gratitude, etc., would be the March. No, we changed it because March 1st is a Tuesday. And so Tony and I were on the phone. So it's going to be the Monday, 7th. So that still gives plenty of time. The invitation has been set up. I spoke with Tony, beer and wine on the beach. If you get hard drinks and then people crash their car afterwards, we're on the hook. So we kept it at beer and wine. And foods, going around the nibblies. And, invite all the people that made a difference on the project, like starting with, Aptum, us, panel, the various politicians that want to enjoy the event. But the most important thing we're celebrating is not, we just did the beach renourishment. We are celebrating 35 years of successful and 5 beach renourishments. Since 1988, so that's 12, that's 36 years of doing beach renourishments. And the photograph of the before picture, which you all know here, and the after will be on the invitation. There'll be a lot of people coming. We're expecting, what do you think, Jennifer, about 60, 70? Yeah, right? And then, of course, the politicians that want to come to, like Cecil, I think there's a clone of him because he's at everything at the same time. I've never seen anything like it. So we'll get some commissioners coming. There's a few people that participated in meetings as stakeholders like Rob Vince. So we extend, or people that attended a meeting, so we reached out to a few people, not just, so basically the plan is it's March 7th. Invitations are going out. Certificates and plaques have been designed. And here's a question, since we're still open. We don't know what the bill is going to be. Tony's just charging, everything is free except for the servers and the drinks and the food. And the prices came in for the food, it's 2 to 3 grand maybe altogether, depending on how many people come. So do you want to vote now to say up to X amount of dollars? Because there's no,
When's our March?
How about up to
Board,
3,500?
So
with
we're gonna have, wait,
expecting to be
time out,
less.
time out.
it's too.
March 7th is our next voting meeting. Do you really want to have, do you think we'll be done by 4 o'clock?
Yeah, it's perfect. So, yeah.
Are you
Well,
sure?
it's
3
3
hours.
o'clock now. It's 2 hours. It's,
Okay.
yeah, I would do
okay.
that. I would put it at, you know, if Tony's charging full rate, and look, he's doing a lot of stuff
How about we
free.
do
I don't want
not
to put a
exceed
number on it.
5,000.
I
or
would
not
do
to
that.
exceed.
Okay,
So you
Yeah.
want to, what we'll need is a motion
Because it's over
for the
2,500.
beach
I'll make that
expenditure.
motion. Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Write it down. Write it down. Got it? Okay. But for the beach
And we
expenditure,
need,
for the party, for the beach celebration expenditure not to exceed $5,000.
okay, we have a second. We need a vote.
Aye. Chairman Sylvia,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Bill,
Aye.
Treasurer Pyle,
Aye.
and Commissioner Laird. Aye.
You know, we're going back to you can also say, okay, all in favor, we all say aye, motion carries unanimous, so you don't have to do it every single time. One final thing, so the movie's done. All he has to do is put the credit, so that thing should go out on social media now. Lindsay has a projector, I even have a blow-up movie screen that is made for
That'd be
beaches.
great. What we need then is sandbags to hold it down.
Yeah,
Which would be
it's an
perfect. Okay.
actual blow up thing that, yeah, so I think everything is covered, keep it on the beach, people could park, walk, so. I think it's pretty much under control, you know,
what happens if regular citizens show up?
they can have a drink. As long as they live here. Oh, you mean people just, yeah, they're not gonna crash, I mean, we can have little stanchions or so, I mean, we'll talk to Tony about that.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
I
So,
move we-
Second,
Excuse me. I'm sorry, excuse me. This is Laura Pegler. I had sent a chat notification. I don't think if you all saw it, but if you can, first off, congratulations to the new commissioners. If we could get a picture of them standing, perhaps a group picture would look
I only have,
better.
Laura, I sent you a picture that I took of Linda as she sat down and was seated and smiling. But what I can do, is we don't have Bob Walter here, he participated remotely, but I could get a picture outside of the 4 commissioners and I can text it to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And you could just say like not pictured, congratulations to Bob Walter, not pictured.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
so we have a vote to adjourn.
you already
Well, I
did
think
it.
we're all agreed.
Yeah, motion, yeah, I think.
Motion
We're done.
Thank you, Mr.
Great.
Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I